Thank you very much, Comrade Speaker. And I've noticed that the Honorable Dr. Jennifer Westford took her leave, but I wanted to say that after listening to my good friend Honorable Sonia Parag, and knowing that Honorable Dr. Jennifer Westford is a current Member of Parliament, I believe it is in the best interest of the PPP and the people of Guyana to bring back Jenny and let Sonia take a back seat. Comrade Speaker, I rise before you today as a proud representative of the people, standing on the righteous side of this honorable assembly, and it is my privilege to make my humble contribution to Budget 2023. I would like to begin by offering my congratulations to the competent staff at the Ministry of Finance for their hard work in preparing this budget. However, as I listened to the senior minister within the Office of the President with responsibilities for finance presentation, it became clear that the utopian rhetoric and clever use of statistics do not mask the reality of the dire state of our nation's people under the current PPPC government. Mr. Speaker, we are now entering the third full year of this current regime's tenure, albeit installed, and by the end of 2023, our country will expend a staggering $1.8 trillion. This is an unprecedented amount of money for such a short period of time. Yet the question remains, what is the quality of life for our citizens? This budget gives the true meaning of the quote, "Don't judge a book by its cover. Read the pages and know the real story." I implore the members of this regime to set aside politics for a moment and consider the plight of the ordinary citizens. Look at the vendors who are forced out of their livelihoods in the dead of night, while you slept comfortably in your beds with security at your homes. Look at the deplorable state of the roads in housing schemes where people with small vehicles are forced to bear the expense of maintenance, while you parade around in luxury vehicles paid for by taxpayers. Look at the people of Mocha and speak to the ordinary man and woman on the street and ask them how they are coping under your regime. As political leaders, it is crucial that they leave the comfort of their air-conditioned offices and truly immerse themselves in the struggles of their constituents. They must hear firsthand the tales of inadequate healthcare delivery, the scarcity of essential medicines, the lengthy wait times for medical attention. They must listen to the grievances of political appointees in the regional health system and how their actions are making the lives of career public servants unbearable. They must learn about the challenges facing the University of Guyana and how lecturers are seeking to flee from this broken education system. They must hear the concerns of teachers who are lacking adequate classroom facilities. They must listen to the thousands of people who have already paid the Ministry of Housing and Water for plots of land but remain in the dark about their location due to a lack of demarcation and infrastructure. They must hear about the trucks that have been distributing baby chicks and chicken feed to PPP party members from the $300 million Small Business Development Fund, and listen to the complaints of the ministry's staff members about the lack of structure in place for spending that money. They must hear the concerns of the people on the street who have dubbed Honorable Suzanne Rodriguez as the wealthiest minister in government and her ties to contractors and companies. They must hear the complaints of Region 8 RDC about Honorable Pauline Sokai's presence at every RDC meeting in the Pacaraimas, instructing the council on what to do and what not to do. They must hear the voices of the staff members at Human Services and Social Security who no longer wish for Honorable Vindhya Prasad's presence. I urge you all to listen to the voices of the ordinary citizens and to ask yourself a simple question. Will there be a place in heaven for you when your time in this world is done? When the people you are entrusted to serve and make life easier for are suffering under the weight of this punishing cost of living? Will God be pleased to know that you are living a life of luxury on the backs of taxpayers who are struggling to make ends meet? The PPPC regime's tyrannical behavior in their deliberate exclusion of the main political opposition in the budget creation process is a blatant violation of the principles of good governance and democratic consultation, as outlined in Article 13 of our Constitution. Their actions are a blatant disregard for the voices and opinions of the more than half of the population who continue to support the opposition. This tyrannical behavior is not only a violation of our democratic principles, but it is also a squandering of taxpayers' hard-earned dollars, instead of fostering an inclusive democracy that truly represents the will of the people. This regime, since 2020, is defined by mismanagement and corruption and is leading our country to the brink of a class crisis that threatens our future prosperity as one people, one nation, one destiny. The discovery of significant reserve presents an incredible opportunity for Guyana to secure its future. But this government's inability to manage our resources responsibly means that the benefits of the economic boom are not being felt by the absolute majority of Guyanese people. It is a travesty that under the PPPC, the people of Guyana have not seen the fruits of their own labor and resources. The widening wealth gap and increased poverty in our nation is a dire result of this government's failure to prioritize the welfare of its citizens. As we stand on the cusp of this economic boom, it is crucial that we demand accountability and transparency from the squatters in government in the management of these resources. The future of Guyana depends on it. We need a legal government that prioritizes the needs of all citizens, regardless of race, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status, and uses this economic opportunity to spur inclusive growth, reduce poverty, and create jobs for all. Together, we must demand a government that works for the people and not just for the select few. It is clear that the PPPC government's rhetoric of one Guyana is nothing but a shallow political ploy. Their actions reveal the harsh reality that we are in fact 7 distinct Guyanas, each with its own set of struggles and injustices. The Amerindians have their own Guyana. The Europeans have theirs. The Africans have the worst. The Portuguese have their own. The East Indians have the best. The Chinese have their own. And the mixed race is struggling to find theirs. The recent treatment of the African community at Mocha Cane View on the east bank of Demerara is a prime example of this government's disregard for the rights and well-being of certain groups in our society. The sight of children crying, mothers weeping, and families being forcibly removed from their homes by government bulldozers and excavators is nothing short of a human rights violation. I saw with my own eyes the ruthless and indiscriminate destruction of the homes and livelihood of innocent people by the operator of the excavation equipment. The operator, with no regard for the lives and well-being of the people, demolished homes and cruelly crushed everything in its path, in some cases even digging a hole and burying the personal belongings of the affected families. The sight was truly heart-wrenching. As I watched helplessly a hard-working businesswoman, who is also a mother, lost her home and her business in a matter of minutes. The destruction of a large number of Banks DIH beverage products was also witnessed, a loss that was totally unnecessary. Comrade Speaker, this is not the kind of society we should be building. We cannot allow this kind of inhumanity and disregard for the rights of the people to continue. It is a sobering reminder of the urgent need for real change and a government that truly represents the interests of the people, not the interests of the powerful and the elite. We must work together to create a society where everyone has the opportunity to live a dignified life, free from the fear of losing their home or their livelihood. Our children, sir, deserve better. But let it be known that the PPPC regime is not immune to the power of the people. They are squatting in office, and it is only a matter of time before they are removed from power by the will of the Guyanese people. The excavators and bulldozers that were used to displace the Mocha Cane View community will one day be turned against this regime, and they will finally understand the true meaning of one Guyana, a Guyana where all of its people are treated with dignity and respect. Comrade Speaker, before I go further in my discourse on the continued betrayal of the people of Guyana by the corrupt and irresponsible PPPC regime, let me take a moment to recognize Honorable Ashni Singh. Honorable Minister, I applaud your belated recognition of the importance of paying the regional chairman and regional vice chairman their salary increases for the year 2021 and 2022 in December of 2022. However, it is a testament to the failure of this government that such basic responsibilities had not been fulfilled until now. The continued neglect of the mayors and deputy mayors is a glaring example of the government's misplaced agenda and lack of empathy for the people they were elected to serve. I trust the Honorable Minister will see the wisdom in paying the salary increases to our mayors and deputy mayors soonest, for they, like regional chairmen and regional vice chairmen, are also full-time servants of the people, elected by people for the people. Before addressing the issues at the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, it is imperative that I bring attention to the deplorable behavior of the PPPC regime within the Public Accounts Committee of Guyana. As we all know, the PPPC is the PAC, the Public Accounts Committee, is a crucial mechanism for holding the government accountable and ensuring transparency in their actions. For decades, the committee has met statutorily every Monday with a quorum of any 3 members. However, in their typical dictatorial fashion, the PPPC regime has maliciously altered the quorum, requiring 2 members from the government, 2 from the opposition, and the chairman. Mr. Speaker, this change has resulted in the cancellation of 6 meetings due to the government's absence, stifling the committee's ability to function. The Irfan Ali's PAC, the Carl Greenidge's PAC.
The references to the president?
Sir, I'm referring to the PAC that he chaired in...
Yeah, but you're creative enough to say the PAC of this particular parliament.
The PAC that was chaired by His Excellency, President Ali, Carl Greenidge's PAC, and Valda Lawrence's Honorable Member PAC, has all worked tirelessly to complete the examination of the Auditor General's report and ensure the PAC is up to date. But this current PAC, with Honorable Ejil and Teixeira, who always would say they have the number on their side, is moving at snail's pace. The only logical conclusion is that the PPPC regime does not want the people of Guyana to know about the numerous financial irregularities, abnormalities, and abnormalities documented in the Auditor General's report of 2020, 2021, and soon coming 2022. But rest assured, Mr. Speaker, the people will know. We on this side of the House will continue to expose the wicked, stinking, and dirty actions of the PPPC regime and hold them accountable for their misdeeds. The Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development is a crucial aspect of our governance structure, with a direct impact on all 10 administrative regions of our country. It is imperative that this ministry is led by competent, professional, and empathetic ministers. However, what we have instead are two ruthless, radical political hacks who are hell-bent on causing chaos and confusion within the ministry and at all levels of local government. They are actively undermining the structure and system at 4th Street, Kingston, and Camp Street, and wreaking havoc at the regional democratic councils, municipalities, and all 70 NDCs. Their actions are a clear indication of their lack of qualification, integrity, and utter disregard for the well-being of our citizens. Their leadership is a disgrace to our country, and they must be held accountable for their actions. The Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development in 2022 received a staggering $10 billion in funding, and after supplementary funds, spent over $11.5 billion. Despite this significant allocation of resources, the ministry failed to meet key objectives and deliver on vital projects. In 2022, the ministry was supposed to train 665 staff in specific areas, but only 155 were trained. Additionally, the local government sector strategy and sanitation sector plan were not completed, and no monitoring and evaluation framework were established. The ministry also fell short on infrastructure development, with 14 new projects planned, but only 9 completed, and 29 existing infrastructure projects planned for improvement, but only 7 improved. Furthermore, none of the local democratic organs saw the implementation of ISM technical standards for waste management, and none of the 6 regions completed their regional strategic plan. This is a clear indication of financial mismanagement and raises serious questions about the ministry's ability to effectively use the funds allocated to them. Now, in 2023, this ministry is requesting approval for a staggering $19 billion in funds. The people of Guyana deserve transparency and accountability for the ministry's underperformance in 2022 and must be provided with answers as to how the funds allocated in 2022 were spent. It is clear that the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, Honorable Nigel Dharamlal, should take responsibility for this failure and resign. It is time for a change and new leadership to take the reins and effectively manage the ministry's resources and deliver on the key projects that positively impact our society. The role of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development is to provide guidance and oversight to ensure accountability and transparency in the work of all regional democratic councils, municipalities, and NDCs. However, what we are currently seeing is a dictatorial approach by the ministers in the ministry, who are issuing instructions to administrative heads of these elected councils. This is unacceptable, and these councils are elected by the people and are meant to serve the people. The ministers should instead be providing guidance and support for the councils to function effectively, rather than undermining their autonomy and authority. It is crucial that the administrative heads of these councils take guidance from their elected councils, as they are the ones who have been mandated by the people to govern. The current state of affairs is a violation of democratic principles and an affront to the sovereignty of our citizens. Comrade Speaker, I am in contact with all 10 regional democratic councils, 10 municipalities, and 70 neighborhood democratic councils, as well as established community development councils. I can confidently say that none of them were consulted on the creation of this budget, despite the government's rhetoric of one Guyana. I have received numerous complaints from regional executive officers who are politically aligned to the People's Progressive Party about being instructed to include certain projects in this budget without their input or consent. I have been told by a regional executive officer that he can no longer handle the pressure of being dictated to by phone calls and WhatsApp messages from Anand Prasad and Nigel Dharamlal, honorable of course. Comrade Speaker, their time in office is coming to a fast end. But the least I can advise right now is for them to be more respectful and humane in their treatment of their fellow citizens. Nigel and Anand Prasad, honorable of course, treat others as you wish them to treat you. Comrade Speaker, as recent as the other day, Minister Dharamlal shamelessly attempted to arrogate powers that he does not possess when he issued Order 40 of 2022, later amended to Order 50 of 2022, engaging in the reprehensible and undemocratic act of gerrymandering. 19 local authority areas have been affected by the nefarious changes he made to the boundaries and seat allocations of municipalities and NDCs. It was never his duty to demarcate the constituency's boundaries. Yet, he went ahead and did it nonetheless, flagrantly disregarding the rule of law and the democratic process. The demarcation of constituency boundaries is the sole responsibility of GCOM. However, interference in the work of GCOM is nothing new to the PPPC. His illegal gerrymandering was rightfully nipped in the bud, but it is now up to GCOM to disassociate themselves from this illegal Order 50 of 2022. GCOM must go into the affected areas and mark the boundaries clearly with the cooperation and able assistance of the residents of the respective areas. The PPPC's continuous attempt to manipulate and subvert democracy will not be tolerated any longer. The Fiscal Transfers Act clearly states that the annual subvention or fiscal transfers from central government to local authorities shall be based primarily on a set of conditions and stipulated performance indicators, with half of the allocation being distributed equally among all local authorities, and the remaining half being allocated based on factors such as population size, geographic area, and tax collection rate. However, under the current PPPC regime, it appears that Georgetown is being disproportionately affected and the mayor is being targeted for not engaging in malpractices with this regime. Even when we look at flooding, when the bishop fails, they want to blame the pandit. The PPPC's interest seems to lie in favoring friends, families, and favorites, rather than fulfilling their responsibility to provide financial resources to local authorities to assist them in discharging their functions and responsibilities, as outlined in the Act. This is a clear violation of the Fiscal Transfers Act and a disregard for the well-being of Georgetown and its citizens. Comrade Speaker, like last year, I call again on the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Anil Nandalal, and ask, don't you believe it is time for you to resign? Don't you believe you have failed the people of this country? Don't you believe that you have not satisfied your job as Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs? Sir, like last year, it is him who I must blame because it is he who must guide. Or is it just that they do not take guidance from Comrade Nandalal? Is it that the ministers of local government and regional development are intellectually circumcised to the point where they don't understand the AG's guidance? Or is it you, Honorable Attorney General, that does not have the testicular fortitude and intellectual aptitude to boldly speak out and speak up at cabinet meetings? Is that how dunce all of them are and not listening to you, Honorable AG? Comrade Speaker, I bring to your attention the issue of regional development. Last year, I highlighted the decrease in funds allocated in Regions 4 RDCs, line item 6211, which is specifically designated to assist elected councillors in carrying out their functions and provide meaningful representation in what should be a true democratic process. This year, the same happened, and now Regions 10 and 7 are also facing similar injustice. As you may recall, last year, Region 10 received $40.5 million on the line item 6211. However, this year, the region is slated to receive $47 million, an increase of only $6.5 million. While this may seem like a significant increase, it is important to note the hypocrisy in this allocation. Last year, when the allocation was $40.5 million, the statutory expenses for stipends for Tushaus and councillors amounted to $7.56 million. This left the chairman and councillors with only $32.94 million to work with. In 2023, despite the high cost of living increase, the allocation is $47 million. But the statutory expenses for stipends has also increased to $14.76 million. So when you subtract, sir, the statutory increase for the 2023 allocation, there is a significant decrease in what remains and what the councillors and chairmen have to work with. Region 4 and 7 are faced with similar issues. For Region 4, we see an overall increase from $18 million to $26 million. But when you subtract the statutory stipend for councillors, Tushaw and Deputy Tushaw, the remainder is $13 million, a reduction again from last year. The same applies for Region number 7. When you do the subtraction of the statutory expenses for Region number 7, a significant decrease again for the chairman and councillors. So, Comrade Speaker, we have a budget that is beautiful on its cover, but the pages inside, when we read them, it tells a different story. The regions won by the APNU AFC continues to suffer with a decrease of resources, but the PPPC controlled regions all have significant increases. Yet this double standard, dictatorial, devious, diabolical, dangerous, and because they don't care regime want us to believe they are committed to equity and democracy. It is clear that there has been no real increase in the allocations for Regions 4, 7, and 10 RDC line item 6211. And I urge this government to re-evaluate their allocation of funds to ensure that our elected officials have the resources they need to effectively represent their communities. Mr. Speaker, for those who are listening to these debates and may not know what is a slush fund, let me define the term for them. A slush fund is a reserve of money used for illicit purposes, especially political bribery. When I read the pages of this budget, it is my firm position that over $15 billion are in various line items as slush funds.
Honorable member, you will need an extension. Before you do that, thanks for the definition of slush fund, because I'm circulating once again all the unparliamentary language. And the meaning you just ascribed there, a lot of it is included in these. So we need an extension so that the honorable member can complete in cleaning up this presentation to conclusion.
Thank you very much, Comrade Speaker. Comrade Speaker, I move that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude his presentation.
Thank you, honourable member. You have 5 minutes from 406.23.
Thank you very much, Comrade Speaker. When I read the pages of this budget, it is my firm position that over $15 billion are in various line items as slush funds. And this was found with the naked eyes. So just imagine how high that sum will be when we examine the estimates next week. Time, unfortunately, will not allow me to deal with all of the line items, but let me touch on a couple. First, there is a $300 million for Small Business Development Fund. I challenge Minister Ganesh, honorable of course, to provide to this House the beneficiaries' legal framework and acceptable financial practice that was used last year to spend the same amount that was approved last year. I am certain there is none, and if there is, nowhere does it require calling PPP party card-bearing members at 5 o'clock in the morning to some secluded location and give them chicken and chicken feed and say, go do business, rear chicken and sell. This is a slush fund. Secondly, the Men on Mission that Honorable Kwame McCoy is a part of. A total of $500 million is allocated there. This entire country thought that this was an initiative announced by President Ali with cooperation from corporate Guyana contributing to the uplifting of people, but now $500 million of taxpayers' money is towards it. I challenge the government to table in this House the criteria for assistance and how this sum will be disbursed in keeping with the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act of 2003. We have the SLED program, Sustainable Livelihood Entrepreneurship Development. Also, and we know that there is no established criteria for disbursement. I see another line item dubbed Safety Net for Vulnerable Populations and some rural enterprise development, all with huge sums of monies, but with no established criteria and proper accountability measures to show transparency and inclusivity. These funds are for families, friends, and favorites of the PPPC cabal. Guyana is in serious trouble, Comrade Speaker, and our children and grandchildren will suffer. Guyanese, if we want Guyana to grow, the People's Progressive Party must go. Thank you.